out of sight. Let's go, it's Mojo.
Rick Hill, it's Mojo Monday.
Mojo Monday, my
I
friend.
want to rewind because there's a lyric in that song that says, doing the work out of sight.
Out of
And
sight.
I'm going to come back to that later. How are you?
I'm incredibly good. This is a beautiful day. Look outside. You can see over my shoulder, the sun's
Yeah,
coming up through the trees.
absolutely. I mean, we record this on rainy days. We record this on snowy days. We record this on really hot days. And I think that kind of leads into our conversation today, Rick, of repetition, right? Like repetition is where the magic happens. And we're going to frame that up, but it shouldn't matter if it's sunny outside or rainy outside or cloudy outside or good day or bad day. It's just the day, right?
It's the day.
However, you kill me. You normally kind of give me a heads up on the did you know trivia, but today I have no idea.
You don't. And by the way, the trivia was your idea. So credit
Oh,
to
okay.
you. But you didn't fact check it. It's what is the most quoted quote of all time?
Ooh.
Ooh, what's the most
So I'm
quoted
looking at a quote on my
quoted quote?
wall, the man in the arena. I love that quote. So I'm hoping that's the quote, but I doubt it.
I don't we will see. You have to stay
We
tuned. That's the key that's what makes this fun. It's the teaser.
Absolutely. All right. So the power of repetition. Rick, why does it become repetition become such a powerful thing in life? And we started thinking about this talk like, man, who are the famous athletes? Who are the best golfer, best baseball, best basketball, all the sports, right? Or in business, like who's the best salesperson you've ever met? Who's got the best marriage you've ever observed? Even who's got the best business we've ever watched? And what do they all have in common, right? And I think our first brain thought is, oh, they're talented, they're lucky,
Hmm.
they're talented. And we've talked about this before, but it's probably not talent, Rick. It's actually repetition, right? What do you think?
I think there is talent involved. So if there are certain core competencies that when magnified or if you apply habits to and you apply practice to and you apply repetition, which is the term we're using more often, I think the gains come quicker, faster, and are more sustainable. But at the same time, there is a concept of last man standing and people that just don't quit, that finish the race. The tortoise and the hare as a perfect fable and example of that. So a little of both do matter. But you asked a good question. Who are the people I'm most impressed with or that I admire and follow when it comes to relationships, business, sales? It's the people that suit up and show up. It's that consistent, first you develop habits, then those habits develop you. And then over time, what looks difficult becomes seemingly easy, but it's not easy. It's just part of their natural, becomes part of their DNA over time.
Yeah.
And so there's got to be a repetition and it's rituals. Like they know what they do, why they do it, and how they do it, especially relational rituals are a
Yep.
big part of this.
I know. I hope it's okay. I say this. I know you tend to leave your wife a note by the coffee maker in the morning.
Yeah.
That's a ritual you do in your relationships, right? Or we've talked on these calls before about the miracle morning. That becomes a ritual, right? It's part of the repetition of doing it over and over and over and over again. And, where this conversation came up is we text during the week, like, hey, what's going on in your life? What's relevant? And I texted you yesterday. I said, I'm sitting here practicing my guitar.
Ooh.
And I was sitting there going, okay. And at the time I was practicing changing chords. And my teacher has me trying to practice with a metronome. So there's a rhythm to me changing these chords. And I'm not that good at it, Rick, if I'm honest. And I'm fairly new at this. And I have a coach, I have a teacher. He's taking me through all this. But I'm literally just sitting there going over and over and over and over and over, trying to get my rhythm, my repetition in to get this thing to where it sounds musical, right? And that's really where this conversation came up. Yet you and I've talked, and I'm gonna kick it to you. You're like, man, every time I hired a guitar teacher, they always tried to get me to play scales. And scales in music, let's just go out on, they're boring.
Yeah, they're not musical.
Yeah.
Like they don't sound like a song. No one plays. If you turn on the radio, no one's playing a scale.
Yep.
But
But
until
so
you
why
learn
is
them,
it so important, right? Like, why is repetition so important?
well, in the guitar world, it gives you the mechanical capacity to replicate things that do show up in songs. And underneath the hood of every endeavor is a series of lessons and opportunities that if you don't master fundamentally, there's going to be glitches or flaws or potential to, you're not going to reach your peak potential. And funny enough, you brought up lessons. I took lessons in the late 90s. I'm self-taught. And because of, being a garage band kind of guy and just over time I figured it out, the question becomes, well, did I hinder or help my progress by not mastering fundamentals early enough? And ironically, Brett, we have the same guitar teacher.
We,
I'm going backwards now, going, how do you step up your game once you've reached a certain level of, reasonably, I guess, respected achievement? It's often back to the basics. It's not magnify the sizzle on the top that makes you you. It's usually reinforce the basics and then compound. That's the foundation for growth. And funny enough, in the 90s, I took three lessons with Peter Stroud. He was a local kind of gunslinging guitarist, young guy, probably not much older than me, maybe 3 or 4 years older, but he worked at a guitar store and I went to his house and he pulled out paper and started drawing lines and the scales and I'm by the third lesson I'm like I just want to write and make songs up, and so I quit. And fast forward to today, he's actually Sheryl Crow's guitarist, and he's also appeared with Elton John at Chastain as a sit-in guitarist when his couldn't fly in, and I should have probably stuck with that guy.
yeah. But I think he was taking us down a path of repetition, right? Like
He was.
our guitar teacher today that we share, I imagine the lessons are very different, yours versus mine. Uh, but I, it's the fundamental, right? Like just the repetition of the fundamental, which is where this whole conversation started this week. When I texted you that, yeah, there's three kind of things that, or really four things I want to kind of bring to the surface, Rick. One is repetition creates identity, right? Like you become who you are repeatedly do, right? Like if I do something so much repetition of that same thing, it kind of becomes part of who I am. And my
Mhm.
example of that is I do a mile a day. I've been doing it for a long time. I'm 200 and I've been doing it longer than this, but I'm at 200 and like 25 days in a row. I haven't missed, right? And the repetition of that is internal at this point. It's part of my identity so much that I think I walked my mile at like 10 o'clock last night
Right.
because my brain starts to go, hey man, you hadn't walked your mile yet today. Like it
Something
feels
wrong? Are you
off.
okay?
Something's off. It feels
Yeah.
off, right? So how do you feel repetition kind of becomes us or creates our identity?
Well, to your point, there's the conscious and subconscious brain working in tandem. And so the subconscious brain is constantly monitoring and managing you, trying to help you, one, stay alive and stay safe. The other is make good decisions that favor, whatever progressive path you feed it. And so you fed it a story that my identity is now this. I'm going to guess the first 30 days it felt awkward, and every day you had to consciously either have a note or reminder. There was accountability. We're on a text chain every day where we report our, activity for the day, how many steps or, your journey walking. But it takes time to one formulate a redundant habit that becomes you, like you said. And the other piece of it, I thought about this as you were saying that. I'm like, 220, how many days? 250 days?
I'd have to go back because it's somewhere in that 225, 250 in
That's
a row.
impressive. If you do anything 200 times in a row, you're probably going to start to get better at it. And the fear now, and this is what I want you to hear if you guys are listening in, is what habit have you developed that's good? There, by the way, congratulations. That's phenomenal. Like few
Thank you.
people can say they hit their step goal 230, 40, 50 days in a row. And Where has good now gotten in the way of great? Because it becomes a new standard. And your body, your body's like a rubber band. Once it stretches to a certain place, it becomes comfortable again. And so if you're living inside of comfort, you've technically stopped growing. And if you stop growing, you stop compounding the gifts you were given on earth.
Yeah.
And so,
I'm
what does it
gonna
look to
rewind.
compound? What does it look? The question today should be, what does it look to compound my natural gifts, aptitudes, and capacities in a way that favors me, my family, and the universe?
So, Rick, I'm gonna go back because you brought up something. You said the first 30 days. First 30 days were kind of painful. They were boring, they were painful, and my brain was going to every excuse. And what I realized in the first 30 days, it actually wasn't part of my identity.
Mm,
It was something I had committed to, and I needed the discipline and the commitment to it. And then at some point in time, it became part of my identity, which is really like when a habit becomes a habit, right? It becomes part of your identity. But in the beginning, I had to power through. I had to push through doing something with repetition to get past the pain, get past the mental barrier or the mental excuses or whatever was swirling in the head. Because last night there was no pain, there was no excuse, it was just due because it was part of my identity, right?
hmm. A, congratulations. B,
Well, I
so
don't want to make
what?
this all about me. I
So
want it to
no,
be about our
no,
listeners.
no. It's
Yeah.
I think it's a so what now what moment. When I listen to you and I think about myself, there is a point in life where I think we all you either use it or lose it. And so sometimes maintaining is winning. But you have to decide, is this the season to maintain or do I want to win bigger because of compound interest based on magnifying effort and focus that's hard again? I
Yeah.
mean, no pain, no gain was that's not the most used quote, but I'm surprised because it's used a lot.
Yeah.
If your habits and identity don't create any amount of pain, urgency, or anxiety around, that, like you said, the first 30 days you had to get up and it wasn't fun and it wasn't like if you want to love yourself more, do harder things. If you want a compound return on earth, magnify and test yourself regularly and then keep habit stacking. So, what I bet you also do, this is another thought that popped in when you said, now it's just part of who I am. I'm going to speculate in your walk every day. You're not just walking, although there's no flaw in that. I bet there's some either audible or what do you do when you're walking that's,
Well, no, part of the criteria was no technology,
ooh,
just
so
to
I didn't
be in
know
my
that.
head, and it's
Mm.
thinking time. Because outside of that walk, there's always a distraction. My wife, the dog, my cell phone, phone call, text, email. There's always a distraction. But when I'm on that walk, there's zero distraction.
So guess what? You still made me right. You still have it stacked. The habit is meditation, focus,
Yeah.
some kind of inner moment of peace, free of
No, no,
distraction.
intentionally, right? You're correct. That is the space in my day that I'm here.
That's beautiful.
Yeah.
How much time do we give ourselves who are high effort and energy go getters? That's such a gift to yourself.
Yeah. And I mean, if I'm cranking, it's 15 and a half minutes. If I'm slow, it's 20. So it's 15 to 20 minutes a day in my head thinking.
So here's a question. How many people really give themselves 20 to 30 minutes of disconnected, true connectedness to their soul? Maybe
Yeah.
that's a habit to start adopting.
Yeah. All right. So let's take this to business for a minute. If lead generation or prospecting or some kind of activity will take you to your best version of your performance or your best version of your business. The lesson here is the first 30 days are gonna be painful. The first 30 days, you're gonna have 100 things go on in your head that keeps you from doing it. But no, at some point in time, that repetition becomes part of your identity. And we admire people that are doing activities daily over periods of time, and we kind of write it off, Rick, like, oh, they're just more disciplined than me, or they're just they're robotic. I've heard it all, right? But you have to power through those first that period of time that doesn't allow, it's not repetition yet, even though you're doing it repeatedly, until it becomes part of your identity. And really, this is kind of a twist on atomic habits, if you think about it, right?
That and the competency ladder. I don't know, the unconscious, where you go
Yeah.
from unconscious incompetence. If ever you elevate your game, there's a moment where you don't know what you don't know. You don't know how to do it, and you don't even like. There's no connection other than you're just swinging, And then you go from unconscious competence to conscious incompetence, where you now realize
You don't know. You know
I
what you don't
don't
know.
know. I realize now I'm not good at that. I thought I was going to be good at that, and I'm really not. And then there's conscious competence, which is where you know what you know, you can do it, but you have to consciously try. You show up with, okay, these are the 3 steps to, shooting a free throw. I do this, my feet, my hands, my eyes, and I release. And then there's the unconscious competency, which is, I think, a beautiful thing. It's called flow state, or where you don't have to consciously work through the process. Michael Jordan, towards the middle of his career, when he was at his prime, he didn't think about mechanics when he was shooting free throws. He just got up there and everything went because he'd done 50 million of them. And that's beautiful, but I think there's risk there because we start to take for granted we're just great at everything. And, we talked about this early on. Sometimes we're losing so slowly, we think we're winning.
Yeah.
And the concept there is your unconscious competence, although served you well at one season, may not be serving you now.
Yeah, you got to change it, right? You got
Well, the world is evolving. World is moving forward. And if you're moving at 5 miles an hour, but the world now, your competition's moving at 10, over time, you will be left in the dust. And so, where in life, either age or capacity or the circumstances around you are evolving faster than your growth, might lead to less than experience and outcome.
yeah. I hear you, Rick. I mean, this talking point's really about repetition makes things easier, right? But there's a negative to that at some point, which you're pointing out, which I love. And I'll remind you, our brains love efficiency, which is really kind of the flow state, right? Like our brains like muscle memory. It's kind of like I take the same route home from the office every day, and sometimes you wake
Hmm.
up and go, have I been driving? Like, I mean, your brain was just processing you driving down the road, right?
Yeah.
Business can be the same way
Yeah.
if you just get into efficiency. And you touched on our third point already a little bit, which just says repetition compounds, right? It's like compound interest. Over time, that repetition makes things easier. It creates part of our identity, and actually we get better. I think about like the Tiger Woods analogy of him chipping golf balls into a bucket in his garage, right? Like and then I think about myself on a golf course when I go to chip and I'm like still trying to think about the fundamentals of where my hands at, or are my feet right, or what's the swing. I have not put the repetition in to be in a flow state. Therefore, I have no compound interest when I step onto a golf course because I just never put the time in, right? Business is the same way. I tell people all the time, like, we'll role play in conversations and they'll stop for a second and go, Brett, that sounded really good. And I go, I appreciate that. And remember, I've been doing this 27 years. I've repeatedly had these conversations over 27 years that had polished what you just heard. It
Right.
didn't sound like that in the beginning, right?
Well, and because of your practice to perfect, you earn the right to be free with your words. Like you can flow, you can pause, like you eliminate some of the panic pulls when you feel like you're off track with maybe something you're trying to express, say, or share. And so over time, I think you teach the brain, you basically install guardrails. And
Yeah.
then and the more experience and repetition, the guardrails are capable of, you're able to widen them and you've got more freedom to flow. And Gary Keller used to profess this, that until you master the fundamentals, the basics and scripts, stop trying to be creative because that's where big mistakes show up or missed opportunities. And
Yeah.
so again, I think the conversation, because our viewers are intelligent and evolved, should be about is good in the way of great. I think that's the ultimate bottom line message. Where has repetition and practice behavior served you well? And where do you need to break that down and kind of recalibrate, reset, and maybe examine the competition or your environment? Are you really at peak potential because your habits now have defined good? And hats off to good, but what does great? Back to your walking, how would you compound a return with either a weight vest or maybe do push-ups and sit-ups before or after as part of that compounded ritual? So what new habit stack do you throw in there that really helps you continue to go and grow and stretch, that pain for gain mentality?
Yep. I love it, Rick. Hold me accountable to that. That's what
I
life's
will.
about, right?
Well, and I need to do the same thing. I mean,
Yeah.
we're not, and by the way, you mentioned something early on that's really important. Where in your relationships have we developed habits that we assume are good, but we haven't checked in with, the ultimate gauge of success in a relationship is not what you think, it's what the person you love thinks. And
Yeah.
so maybe this is a really important day for you to take a deep breath and go, what habits are serving or disserving, elevating that relationship and that experience with the people I love the most? Because habits are wonderful when they're working, but they also can create complacency. And you may miss the mark because you just make assumptions. Assuming is a dangerous place to live when it comes to important relationships.
Yeah. Rick, let me take a left turn for a minute.
Blinkers
There's
on.
also negative repetition. If
Yeah.
you do a negative habit or a negative task repeatedly, it works both ways, right? Like it could become a bad thing. If you all of a sudden start hitting the snooze button every morning, or you start staying up later, or you whatever it is, right? Like you you go to the office and start reading the news instead of getting into productive in the prime hours of the morning. Those habits over time become you as well and actually create harder to break, right?
Well, what if as a child someone handed you a baseball bat and told you were left-handed?
Yeah. I'd
And
be
you learned
left-handed
it,
today,
and
probably.
then you
Yeah.
learn to hit left-handed. But here's the assumption, Brett, you're actually right-handed.
Yeah.
So this is a cool kind of crossover moment to go, just because you can doesn't mean it's optimal, doesn't mean it's the best. And so, what if you're truly right handed, but unless you stop, by the way, I would assume if you hit a ball left handed for 10 years, and even if you were right handed, and I said now hit right handed, and that's your natural, it probably does not just show up and it still requires exploration and maybe a coach or an analyst or someone to help guide you through the process of reinvention or improvement. So
Yeah.
maybe it's,
I've
are
always
you swinging
idolized the
left-handed, but
baseball.
you're really right-handed? There's a question.
I've always idolized the baseball players that can hit from both sides. And
It's, well,
but
that
they
goes back to, is
still
that a
had
gift?
repetition on both sides.
Yeah. Is that a skill? I mean, is it nature or nurture? Are they just born blessed? And the answer could be
Uh,
yes. It could
yeah.
be. Let's
Well,
be honest. Some people have gifts that exceed others.
yeah.
And the closer you are to your natural gifts, the easier it is to adopt and build habits. But it's also a curse because sometimes when it comes naturally, you don't try as hard.
Yep. I was thinking that recently there was this couple that climbed to the top of the Empire State Building, Rick, and they hung this big flag, this big flag, and social media has gone on fire with everybody changing the words on the flag. And to me, if we were changing the words on that flag, it's like, here's your sign. Pick the one thing that you need to get into repetition around that will cause your life to be better. And whatever is on that flag's irrelevant. The question is, sometimes we need a flag. Sometimes we need a sign that says, here it is. And we hope Mojo Monday becomes that for you, meaning you're listening today and you say, I hear you. I hear you. Repetition. It's painful for 30 days and then it becomes part of my identity. All that's great unless you pick something and go do it and power through it, right?
Yeah, that's commitment. So, what one thing are you flirting with disaster with, or that if you did adopt new behavior, changes everything? What's the first domino today, or the most important, biggest domino in your life that's mission critical? And plant that flag.
Or start small too.
But you still
Maybe it's
plant a
just making
flag.
one small, yeah, plant a flag,
You
right?
still got to
Pick
plant a
something.
flag. Without the
I
future,
planted the flag around guitar. I planted the flag around doing a mile a day. I planted many flags in business, and you've got to plant the flag first so that you make an emotional commitment to go through the pain to get to the repetition and the identity because the pain goes away.
yep, you nailed it.
All
Plant a
right.
flag. We should have just called this
Most
episode Plant a Flag.
All right, we're retitling the episode Plant Your Flag.
Plant your flag. So what
All
one
right,
and
let's do it.
we're trying to
I'll
keep it
make sure we
simple.
title it that. All right. I am dying to know because you didn't tell me.
I
The most
didn't, and I'm gonna.
quoted
All
quote.
right. So the most quoted is to be or not to be. That is the question.
To be or not
William
to be.
Shakespeare, to be or not to be. So it's plant a flag or don't plant a flag. That's what I hear.
Oh yeah.
And
You're
then
either
here are
going
a
to
few
be it or
more.
not going to be it.
Yeah. So today's choice, not chance, determines your destiny. That's another pretty well quoted quote. They did throw three more in here that are contenders and would maybe in part of the argument. I think, therefore I am.
Oh, that's a big
Mm,
one.
that is. How about the only thing we have to fear is fear itself?
Yeah.
So what's
To be
holding
or
you
not to
back?
be. So you
And
have
that's
trivia now. You go have your cup of coffee with your partner, your spouse, your kids. Go, what's the most quoted quote, Rick? Because I just
there
learned
you
it
go.
on
Mojo
Mojo
Monday.
Monday.
Be good, guys.
Set the tone and ride it all day. Mojo, Mojo Monday, fun and fired up. I'm on my way. Let's go. It's Mojo. Life is best on Mojo Monday.